guys, welcome back to the Mental Lab. I hope you are having an amazing day. You are listening to your favorite host with the most charming. I mean, I don't know what I have that's the most, but you know what? You're listening to me. So, guys, I'm back with another episode to kind of follow up on the last podcast episode, which, if you did miss that one, it was packed. It was packed with like its episode main topic was about Black culture's like historic dismissal of mental health. But there was a little part in that whole conversation that I really want to focus on in today's episode. And that was that piece I talked about with total fitness. So what I really want to do is break that down, like really elaborate on it because I want to make sure that you completely really understand what total fitness actually is. Also, speaking of that last episode, I realized that I was really sick when I was listening to it. So I am sorry for all those sniffles and whatnot. This microphone is a lot better than I think I give it credit for. So I'm sorry for all the and and all that extra stuff. I'm not doing ASMR. I promise you I'm not doing it. I mean, if I am, I probably could. Just I gotta hold on. I'm not doing ASMR, guys. I promise. But before we get into all of that, quickly, I just want to tell you guys about today's podcast sponsor. Hey guys, really quickly, I just want to break away from the episode to briefly talk a little bit about today's video sponsor, which is Anchor, which is a podcast streaming service, and pretty much they're like all we use to stream all of our podcasts. You can actually utilize their tools to create a podcast, record on there, edit, add things in, take things out, upload, and they'll do like all the rest of the distribution work for you. And you can even make money pretty quickly. If that's what your goal is, you can make money in like 4 or 5 different ways with listener support, advertisements, all that stuff is easy. You don't even need to have a large fan base in order to start making money. So if you haven't heard about it, I would definitely go and try them out at anchor.fm, or you can download the app. It's all free to use, free to utilize. You don't have to pay really anything at all at any point unless you just want to do more things, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with doing a little bit more things. But the app itself, the subscription, the membership is completely free. You should definitely check it out if you're looking to make podcasts. Also, they do have and are able for you to subscribe and listen to other podcast users and different types of things on the app. They also do video podcasts, which I'm super excited about because half this season is about video podcasts. So I really enjoy using them. Like I said, you should go check them out if you haven't already downloaded it. And if you're not listening to us through Anchor, you're probably listening to us through like Google, Apple, Spotify, which Anchor distributes everything to them already. So you might as well just use it. There's no reason not to. So like I said, make sure you go to either anchor.fm or download the app to your mobile phone today, so that way you can kind of get a little bit more involved in, you know, making a little bit more money, having a good time, and doing some good podcasting. But otherwise, back to the episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So just a quick trigger warning before we get started. Some of the topics that will be covered in this episode can be emotionally triggering. However, this episode is going to be a pretty light one, pretty straightforward. But if you are triggered, just take a moment to roll around the floor like a puppy after a bath. Count down from 39. Take a nice deep breath, like a couple of them. Well, you know, continue to breathe. But after you do all of that, make your way over to our website, officialmentallab.com, for a number of resources. There you can find just a massive directory of over 70 different programs to assist you and those that you care about. So really quickly, just kind of like a daily update of what's going on with me.
Since the last episode, things have been all right. Between the time that I filmed the last one and this one, recorded the last one and this one, was Thanksgiving. And I know by the time you're listening to this, it's a lot later. But what I really want to do for this season is film a good 5 or 6 episodes prior to actually release. So that way it's just a lot less stress and I can really focus on bringing you guys those really good human library episodes with those really great book guests, as we talked about in the last episode. I really want to be able to focus more on that. But since then, I have kind of I found my old laptop and I it had like a brick. I think that look, I don't know much technology, but I guess a lot of things I'm about to say probably about the debunk that. But the hard drive was brick. It was like the hard drive, like the operating system on it was, ruined or I don't really know. But somehow I ended up fixing it and it's been like updating and reinstalling stuff like the last 3 days. But this laptop is better than my old one. So I'm much more prepared now for this upcoming season because my last laptop was just not having it. I don't know what was going on, but it just was not having it. Um, so I'm excited about that, feeling pretty good. But since the last few days, my me trying to record my laptop not letting me because it's just updating consistently. There was Thanksgiving, which I've talked about before. And a lot of you guys may know that some of the worst times, like those, like the worst time for people and people's mental health is around the holiday season. It just starts right around Thanksgiving. Um, and not that I'm doing, horribly right now. And I mean, I don't expect to, you know what? I expect that things might go south as we get closer and closer to like Christmas and New Year's. But as of right now, like today, I'm okay. I would say like I'm a thumbs up. I would say like I'm in the green today. But as far as Thanksgiving Day, I was not here for anything. Like I didn't I it's there was so much going on in my brain. I did get sleep like the night prior to Thanksgiving, which was a good thing. But when I woke up, I just did not want to. I wasn't home. I wasn't gonna see family. I don't have many friends. Um, there's so much surrounded by Thanksgiving on wanting to give thanks and appreciation to the people that you care about and wanting to see them and enjoy their company. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword, kind of, right? So like you're in this atmosphere of all these people who care and love about each other, which is amazing. That's great. And I'm sure like a lot of people uh, kind of relate to me, but like that can become overwhelming before you're even in that environment. Just thinking about being in that environment, but like you're really not around the people you care about could be rough. Even if you are around the people you care about, like a lot of times is all that joy and whatever could be a lot, especially like so. For instance, a lot of times people, they show face, they put on a mask, right? And this is something I was talking to my financial therapist about a few weeks ago. But a lot of times we put on masks, like everyone, like everybody wears this mask over their face of what they want people to see of them. And especially those of us who are dealing with so much stress and, depression, anxiety, like things we don't want people to get to notice, or we want to protect our loved ones from seeing us down. Like there's many reasons why we put a mask, and maybe I'll talk about that in the next episode so I can elaborate it more. But it's those masks that keep us away from people, right? Because not only do we realize that we're probably wearing a mask, like not saying that we're being fake or anything like that, it's just there's a mask, right? But we also realize that other people also wear masks. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. Like we could go around, a bunch of friends and everything's joy and merry, but like sometimes that's just a lot, especially when you know that other people have masks on. I mean, there's so many reasons why, I don't want to be completely socially interactive. And that's one huge thing we're going to get into today. Um, but it, I wasn't feeling well. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I had plans to go and hang out with one of the boys, and I ended up canceling. I felt bad, but at the end of the day, it was just not going to be a good idea for me. I already know how that turns out when I feel, so detached and isolated and lonely around people. That only makes me feel worse. I'd rather be, detached by myself in my own house. That way I'm not forced or forcing myself to be around people. So it just gets a little rough. Oh, okay, whatever. So Thanksgiving was rough. Got it? Okay, good. Next. Now, uh during the last few days, however, I did come across this idea. And you guys know I'm like a visionary, or I don't know. But I'm the kind of person who has an idea and has to like immediately go into it, right? Or else it's just never gonna get done. And I have to go all in. But anyway, so I had this idea about creating a social media platform for our community, right? And so I went to looking online for some, but it has to be perfect, Like I don't want that, like I want it to kind of be like a Facebook thing where you can just quickly update, see, all these different posts from, all these of other people in the community. I don't want to use something like Discord because I don't really understand that. I want it to be simple enough for me, but also simple enough for other people because I know what's simple for me might be more complex for other people. And especially because I want this community to not necessarily just be my own demographic. I want it to be all different types of people, ages, races, diagnoses, non-diagnoses, situations, cultures, areas, you know, financial background, all that kind of stuff, right? So I just want it to be, just good for everyone. But I also don't want it to just be like a website online. I also want there to be like an app. So I really got to figure out what I'm going to do, what like platform. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that because hopefully I can find that within like the next few weeks before our like the first episode airs. But if it doesn't, if it's not up before our first episode airs, then don't worry. I will keep you guys updated throughout the episodes and on the website as well with news and all that kind of stuff. So besides all of that, like I said, I've been all right, not too bad. Like I said, Thanksgiving was kind of rough, but I promise you, everybody decides to slam their doors and move things and unload cars when I'm recording, and Mindy is going to have to say something to them. Okay, so they're not done taking stuff to the car, but I'm gonna assume that they're like one of the sisters is leaving from Thanksgiving and going back home. So you know what? If Minnie decides to start talking to him again and they decide to start slamming doors, then I guess you guys just gotta hear it. But like I said, I'm all right. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited for the upcoming weeks, and I just gonna need to figure out what I'm gonna do for Christmas or New Year's because I don't really want to go home, but at the same time, like I don't really want to just be stuck. I don't mind being stuck in the house. I don't know, guys. All right, so today's song for the episode is titled "Anxiety" by JoJo. Now, I look, this is not my channel for like, music reviews and all that kind of stuff. But I just want to say, stop sleeping on JoJo. Okay, like she throws down, like she throws down. Okay, but whatever. that's neither here nor there. The song Anxiety is an amazing song. It's from her newest album. And really quickly, I just want to read to you guys like the first opening verse because I mean, you need to listen to the song. You need to listen to the song. I'm gonna see if I can, like, if I'm not gonna get copyright striked or anything like that. If I at least put the instrumental, if not, like a quick little snippet, glimpse, snippet, whatever, like as like the intro song, or something like that. But it is good. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's good. Okay. Anyway, so anxiety, right? By JoJo. So she starts off saying, I wish that I could shut you off, keep you muted. I wish I knew the difference between your voice and mine. That right there took, oh, here they come. But that right there took me. I was like, Lord, don't I know it? And I'm sure, like, like all of you guys can relate, like one just wishing, like, God, shut up. And it's at the most inconvenient times too. Like, when it's exactly the times when you do not need it and you just need clarity and you need a clear mind and the space to like make good decisions. Nope. Nope. I just wish I could turn you off and then also keep you muted. But then she goes to say, I wish I knew the difference between your voice and mine. And that really struck me because I really felt like, and I don't want to dive way too deep into it because again, I don't want to take an hour and a half like the last video. But I wish I could tell the difference between your voice and mine. A lot of times I feel like because of how deranged I am or how, faulty or imperfect. There we go. Because of how imperfect I am, sometimes I feel like the other voice is mine. Sometimes you can't tell the difference because it's like, wait, am I doing this for the betterment of me or am I doing this because it's what I'm used to? Or am I, wait, like, what, like, especially the thoughts, because sometimes okay, for instance, a lot of you guys know a lot of my, self-harm situations and my suicidal situations. So I'll just kind of bring up one of those. So for instance, there was one time I was at Buffalo Wild Wings with my friend. Well, she was working, but I got a really bad phone call and I wasn't feeling good. After the phone call, like my mind during the phone call, but after the phone call, my mind was just racing and racing. And it was really difficult to tell if that was the right thing for me to do, just sit there and let my mind race and because it was a bad phone call. It was a phone call that caused a lot of emotional distress and whatnot. So, with that much distress, your brain is going to, race and run, right? So that's already that part right there about, not being able to tell whether it's my voice or not, or your voice or, giving a persona to giving, like making anxiety, a sentient being, or with a voice and a person, So it's sometimes difficult to tell if that's, my voice or the other voice. And not that like I'm hearing things or things like that, because a lot of times, and I'll talk about that as well later, probably another video in another episode. But it's just that part is natural, right? When you have a bad phone call or you get bad news, whatever. But the next thing that occurred was, God, you feel sick. You feel really sick to your stomach, like you're gonna puke. Well, do I? I mean, do I really feel that way? I probably do. Okay, so now again, that's still probably my voice because I probably do naturally feel sick to my stomach from the bad news I got. But with my history of my eating disorder and purging, it can get a little muddy because that's part of my eating disorder potentially talking. Maybe, right? But the next thing comes is where it's like, okay, maybe just go to the bathroom, right? Maybe it'll just all come up and you'll feel a lot better. or just at least if things do come up, you're in a position where you'll be okay, right? And again, that's like, okay, that's probably my natural, you know, voice in my head telling me, okay, I'm not feeling good. I just got this bad news. My stomach is reacting. I need to get somewhere that's safe for me to, puke if I need to. And then I get to the bathroom and then it's like, oh, okay, it's not coming up. You'll feel so much better if you just go ahead and puke yourself. And again, that's a natural that's kind of like a natural like thought. Like you don't feel good. It's not coming up. If you force it to come up, you'll feel better. Right. And then I purged. And then I felt bad because I had been on, I think at that point, about 40 something days, both like of sober from purging, and I felt bad afterwards because I realized that wasn't my voice. That was a bad voice. And that's why I feel bad right now. I'm guilty because no, like no. So I completely get that line. And it is difficult because it is so hard to be able to know the difference between my voice and the bad one. It is. Cause so it just starts off so naturally and it just and it's the same thing with anxiety, well, not anxiety, with different addictions and all these things. So I completely get that. So to continue, she says, I'm always putting out the fires you started. Anxiety does that. I mean, especially like with aggravation and agitation, irritation, anxiety can cause a lot of that kind of stuff. And so the things you end up saying to a lot of people can hurt people, or the way you take things can hurt yourself. There's just so much associated with so many fires created from anxiety, and it's very understanding what she's saying. Then she continues to say, and every time I look around, it just looks bad on me. Because in all reality, there is nobody else. It's just you know? Regardless of if people understand what you're going through, what you're dealing with, regardless if they're going through it the same way, it's just you. It's just me. It's just me. It was me who told myself to go purge. It was me who told myself to cut myself. It was me who told myself to try and starve myself to death. It was me who did this, and this, because it's just me, you know? So even though I'm trying to put out all these fires that you're creating, like all this stuff that you're making like my life more and more difficult and for the people around me and all these different things, it still just looks bad on me. When I'm just trying to do the best I can. Just to continue really quickly, she goes on to say, you only show up when it's inconvenient, always talking loud, fill my head up with lies. Ain't that the truth? Keeping me home, keeping me from leaving. You love to just take my time. And look, it's a very good song. The lyrics are just phenomenal. So if you get the time, you just take a moment to listen to it, because I'm telling you right now, it's all right. So since we've kind of gotten all those formalities out of the way, like we always regularly do here, I want to just go ahead and give it to our main topic and talk about why both you and I, both of us, because we ain't, but why both of us why we're not actually really fit, like at all, really. Okay, so total fitness is what I talked about briefly in the last episode. I talked about how a lot of times in Black cultures, we feel like we don't need to go to all these different people to talk to, these therapists. We don't need all these different books to read, podcast lists. A lot of times, and this probably in the older ages now, because I'm sure we're much more progressive. But like I said, briefly, we talked about how a lot of times people just feel like if you just go to church, you'll be okay, which is not necessarily specifically the case. It could help, yes, very much. It is expected to help if you're, religious in that in that manner, going to church or reading the Bible or blah, 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 whichever religion, whatever, right? But I talked a bit about that spiritual fitness portion and about balance. But really today, like I want to really talk about it because I think even in this last episode, I think I only talked about briefly like physical health, mental health, spiritual health. Um, but there's a lot more, right? There's a lot of different types of fitness and health components that fit into like you just being a totally fit individual, right? Whether it's, I'll get into a list of it, but regardless of what it is, like we need to be totally fit individuals. It doesn't have to be perfectly balanced. We're never going to be perfectly balanced, but we should be striving for that, striving for, building ourselves in all aspects of our health. Because if we don't, we turn it to me, where you're not balanced in anything or excelling in anything, even though you have a lot of the knowledge and awareness that you're not balanced and how to get out of it. You become me because you don't have, I don't want to say you don't have enough resources, but you don't have enough tools like your little toolbox, like your little satchel. I guess kids nowadays, their fanny pack, like you ain't got enough gumdrops in your fanny pack. Gumdrops in your fanny pack. I'm retarded. I'm sorry, I'm not. No, gumdrops in your fanny pack. Okay, whatever. I promise y'all, we be over here having a good time. Me by myself in this room with this mic and this computer and my little notes. All right. Anyway, anyway. But honestly, really, you don't feel like you have enough stuff in your bag to help you become, fit totally or whatever. And one thing I want to say too before we really, really get into it is you're never going to be able to work on every single like piece of this pie. You can't eat the whole pie at once, right? So just remember that throughout the rest of this episode for the main topic. Like there is a lot, and you like I was overwhelmed writing these notes down and just thinking about this. Even whenever I started uh, group therapy back in February, I think it was my first day that afternoon. We took 4 hours and wrote down a bunch of things that kind of fit into some of this. I take it on a different route than what we did. We talked about that day um, about the different types of health, like or taking care of things like physical health, personal health, all that kind of things. And we talked about some things that you can do in order to promote it, which is good. That's not what I'm about to do. We gonna keep it real. Look, uh, we for the most part we know how to promote certain health, right? For the most part, and not all the time are we good at practicing it, but for the most part we know about them. What I want to really talk about today is what the types of fitnesses, like different things are, what it looks like to not be healthy, kind of some diseases or diagnosis, some situations that are associated with it that kind of give you an example so you can better understand what it means. And then I'm gonna talk about uh how they all kind of mesh, what I am trying to do to kind of work with it, how to work on taking look, when I say how to, I'm not giving you answers or advice. I'm talking about what I am doing because first off, like I said, I am aware. I don't know the path. I'm just sharing my experiences because trust me, I'm not licensed. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist nothing like that. Okay. So understand that these are things I'm doing. These kind of things will be completely different for lots of you out there. Just as many people are in the world, there's going to be as many different strategies to work on improving your total fitness. So I just really want to give all of that and a little bit of disclaimer. So, what is a part of that whole total fitness pie that I was talking about, that you can't eat all at once, but you're probably going to feel bad because you're going to try and eat all at once. And when you fail at eating all at once, you're going to feel even worse about yourself, right? So what is what is that pie? So some of the pieces that some of those slices include your physical fitness, right? Your mental fitness, emotional, your spiritual, financial, your romantic, social fitness, your personal fitness, and even your sexual fitness. It's not limited to that list, but you know what? What that one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. There's nine pieces of the pie. I'm sure you can cut pie, fractions, math into infinite number. Yeah, right. Okay. But anyway, it's not limited to those, but those are probably what's best for me to explain because those are what I've been working on for the longest, for like the last 3.5 years on improving. Um, so kind of like what are they? So a brief kind of description. So your physical fitness, easy, right? That's physically, how your physical being is, your body, your blood, your organs, like that kind of stuff. How all that stuff, how all that stuff squirrel, right? How all that stuff is working, right? Easy. Your mental fitness is kind of just about your actual brain, like the cells itself, like not your mind, but your brain, right? So when I say the brain, I mean like how things are hardwired, things that might have been born with, um, and then things that are programmed into your brain. Think about your brain as a computer, and that computer is the what's need to be healthy, right? You can get viruses that could ruin it. Um, so as far as like viruses that can ruin your computer, as far as that, when you bring it to mental fitness, that's more along the lines of uh, trauma, right? Trauma can happen and it could cause issues in your brain with your mental fitness. A lot of times, your mental fitness, well, all of these things really like work with each other or balance each other or are the inverse of each other, but are right next to each other. But a lot of times we confuse mental fitness with emotional fitness or even spiritual fit or even personal fitness, right? A lot of times we confuse them, but that's really what when you break it down to mental, that's what that mental is. It's just like that hardwired computer that's actually in your head, the physical computer. You know what I'm saying? And even with the podcast show, right? The official mental lab, like it's about the computer, the brain. That's why it's a lab, because there's so many inner workings, so many different chemicals, so many different things that go into the powerhouse computer of the brain, right? So that's what it is. That's what mental fitness is. Um, then we have emotional fitness, right? And that's your emotions. That's kind of like your mind, not necessarily the brain, but the mind. The mind and the brain are two different things, right? You have the brain, which is a concrete actual physical thing, and then your mind is the thoughts and those kind of processes within your mind or so like through your heart and not your actual physical like anatomic heart like your loving heart, like that kind of thing. So emotional fitness is pretty much just your emotional well-being, right? So how well you react to things or think about things like those things. You get what I'm saying? All right, cool. Next, we got your spiritual fitness, which is most often related to religion, but it's I don't want to say it's far from that, but that's only a little tiny, itsy little piece, right? And so a lot of spiritual fitness comes from your connection to something that's bigger than you. And that's why it's often associated with religion, at least in my life, right, where I'm from. A lot of times it's associated with religion because that's something that's higher than you. But a tree is higher than you, not necessarily physically, but it, then again, I don't want to always say something that's higher than you, something that connects you to things that are more than just your being. You know what I'm saying? So like a tree, for instance, yeah, you could look at a tree and think about, oh, that's a tree. That's not necessarily, practicing spiritual fitness. What is a part of practicing spiritual fitness is thinking about and being mindful of how the roots are in like this earth, like the ground around all these man-made things, and how it still continues to grow, and through different weather and years and decades and centuries, it's still there, and what it could stand for. That's what I'm saying. Like taking something beyond just yourself, that's what that spiritual fitness is. Financial fitness, easy. That's how good you are with your finances, or your goals with your finances. And oh, squirrel again. Look, but yeah. So financial fitness, how well you're managing your money, those kinds of things. Romantic fitness, right? That's a new one, but we're definitely gonna get into that because I want to explain a little bit more of that when it comes to like things associated with and what it looks like to not be romantically healthy. But your romantic health obviously deals with your romantic partners, whether that's in a monogamous relationship, polygamous relationship, those kinds of things. Social fitness, that just deals with your interaction with other people. Easy, simple interaction with other people. That can also be something that's hardwired in the brain. That's where you get kind of like uh, Asperger's and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Your personal fitness, that just has to deal with not necessarily like you physically going to the gym, like you going to the gym, but that has to do with like your hygiene and how well you're taking care of yourself, what you're doing for you. Like that's where you get that whole self-love, self-care, like stuff that you see every spring, right? Whatever. But that's where you get that from. And then finally, you have your sexual fitness. So that's how well you're managing your sex life. Whether you're with multiple partners, if that's what you want, that's your goal. Be with multiple partners. Okay, go ahead. Um, then that's just talking about your protection and your security. If you're being safe, who you're doing it with, what kind of uh, diseases, those kinds of things, right? Pretty self-explanatory as well. So, what does it kind of look like to not be healthy? It looks like me. I'll be honest. Like today, like it literally looks like me, right? So there are some days where you hear or you see me, and I am run down to the dirt, past the roots of the tree, not to sprout into something better and to sprout into something beautiful, right? That you can be mindful of spiritually, right? Some days I'm all the way down there. And then some days like today, I'm all the way up here. That's not healthy. It may look today like I'm good, like I'm healthy, like I'm fit and taking care of myself. But when you think about the total fitness, total health, that's not healthy. I am so very emotionally reactive. I am so um what's another good term? My highs are high. On top of the world. My lows underneath that tree that we just talked about, right? That's not healthy. Health is having a balance. And yeah, I may be balancing my highs with my lows and my lows with my highs. But when I say balance, I mean a good level like line in the middle with, waves that are, kind of reactive, but they're reactive to a balanced amount. I, I'm not going to go, completely low under the tree. Well, I am. But what I should not do, or what is healthy, and again, I really want to make sure that we understand when I'm saying healthy, I don't mean normal. Like, I don't look, normal is not a thing around here. Okay. I don't mean normal, right? And so I'm not making it a normative thing, but I want to make sure that you understand what is healthy, right? Okay, so it is not healthy to emotionally react in the same manner, negatively, to receiving news that, or getting a phone call and you have to go to work today, even though it's your day off, but you're only going to go in for like 2 hours, right? That's pretty bad. We hate that, right? But it is not healthy to react to that negatively in the same exact manner that you would if, for instance, you got a phone call that your best friend just passed away, right? That's not healthy. That's what I mean by I don't want to talk about things being normal. I want to talk about things being healthy, right? So if you have a healthy balance of, being fit, you're much better, much more able. Whatever the word is, you look. We know I suck at words, but you're much more prepared for, that wave and that balance to kind of even itself out, and go up when you're up and down when you're down. Like, it's not good that, oh, because I got a tattoo, that's gonna bring me all the way up just as much as if I like won the lottery. Like, on top of the world. That's kind of what I mean. So that's what I mean by, like, what does it look like to not be healthy? And that has to do, when I say like it looks like me, it has to do with so much more than just like my emotions and my emotion reactivity. I struggle with the gym, my physical fitness, and my personal fitness because of the way I feel about my body, the way I see my body. And because of that, a lot of times it keeps me from going to the gym and being physically active and doing those kind of things, especially because I isolate. I stay in the house, but it can go on and on and on. And there's just so much. So when you are not healthy totally, it could look like one thing, two things, or it could look like the world is crashing down on you all the time, or sometimes. And the other times it's like you have the world in your hands, right? And not even all the time is it like that, right? It's very different depending on the person. Obviously, like, there's as many different situations as there are people in this world. So kind of some of the diagnoses associated with each of those little pieces, right? Um, and it's it's going to be, some of these are going to be easier for you to understand, and so I don't need to give as many examples or explain as much. Some are going to be a little bit more difficult, right? So I'll definitely get into a little bit more about that, so you can kind of just get a better understanding, and I give some of my own personal examples and my experiences. Um, so, for instance, your physical fitness. Obviously, like, you can have, issues with your body, like your bones and your muscular structure. You could get like cancers, diabetes, have those kind of things, blood issues. I have G6PD deficiency, which is a glucose something with some blood sugar and some more stuff like that, deficiency. I also have sickle cell anemia. Those are uh programmed, um like genetic. I want to not, but they're not genetic. Well, yeah, they are genetic. Like, I mean, I don't mean like you always pass it down. I don't mean like that. But what I do mean, it is that's programmed into me. That's not something I can help whether I have that or not, but that is definitely a part of it, right? And does that make me necessarily unhealthy? Yeah, kind of, right? If I can maintain health around it, then yes, right? But if I don't do something to, manage it and take care of it and take care of myself, then no, I'm not healthy and I'm not fit. So physical fitness, easy. Emotional, your emotional health, your emotional fitness, that's when you get into anxiety, right? That's your thinking, the way your brain's racing, the way you react to things, right? Your how your like your temper. Then you also get into having depression. Like, you can get diagnosed with these things, paranoia, like all those kinds of emotional reactive things and emotional diagnoses. Um, Pretty self-explanatory. I think I talked about a bit about that a little bit earlier, right? You have the mental fitness, and your mental health. So again, that's that computer that can be programmed, right? Whether it's from, you know, startup or later on, right? So those are things like dementia, right? That's part of your mental, that's part of your mental fitness and your mental health, like dementia, you know, forgetting things, those kinds of things. But also you get into like OCD, autism, PTSD, right? PTSD is something that's programmed later based on trauma, right? OCD is not necessarily something that's programmed. It's just like a feature, like an update into you onto the computer, right? Um, but so I think again, I explained mental and emotional a bit more earlier on. So I think it's if for whatever reason you need me to elaborate even more, look, there's a few different ways you can hit me up. You can hit me up on the website in the comments, and then the social media platform eventually that we'll have up all those different things. So spiritual, right? So I want to really talk about your spiritual fitness with it. So kind of some of the things associated with it. Your I feel like with my own spiritual fitness, a lot of times I feel out of place wherever I am if I'm trying to connect, you know, to something bigger. Like for instance, we have we have the waterfront, and I used to go there all the time and just have me a nice coffee and sit and just look at the water and feel the sun on my skin and just think about, you know, just life in the world. Um, I was much more spiritually fit then. Now I tried to go a few weeks ago, and it was so hard for me to feel like I belong just sitting there out in the open with all these people walking around and running and jogging and feeling like everybody's looking at me and feeling like, you know, people are thinking, oh, he's lonely, he's by himself, like just feeling out of like just feeling out of place. I think that's like a huge part, and that kind of goes along into like isolation, right? Isolation from the natural world. I want to say not necessarily from people because that's when you get into social isolation, but or social health. But isolation from the natural world, it makes me not want to go outside. It makes me not want to just feel the sun. It makes me like, for instance, in October for my birthday, I took a trip to Florida. Beforehand, I was extremely nervous, not because of like I don't know what people would be regularly nervous about taking a vacation for. But I was so nervous because it was of my spiritual health, right? Because I feel so out of place. In addition to that, I didn't have that much like confidence in myself, and I think that's another huge part of spiritual fitness, like your trust in yourself, right? The trust in the bigger world, the bigger thing, the natural world, you know. I think that's another part, like a defect that you can have, or a downside to, you know, like a spiritual health issue, is that trust, because trust is something bigger than you. That's saying, you know, look, I'm going to put my trust and my faith into, you know, this world, and so I did not trust myself, the places, the area, just I did not trust that I would feel like I belong while somewhere else. And I feel like it was going to make me or yeah, like make me do things that I shouldn't and that I don't want to engage in, those kinds of things. And I think that's a big part of that spiritual fitness. Then obviously you get into religious type stuff. So having conflict, conflict, having conflict with a higher power, or for instance, um, without giving too much information about this person's identity, this person is a gay man, and uh, he was in a relationship with someone, and he started having some spiritual like health issues, when it comes to his religion and whatnot. He started having like some conflicts about who he is, what he's doing, especially as a gay man, what the deity he believes in wants him to be doing, and it really conflicted with him. And that's not necessarily healthy spiritually. You know, obviously, along your journey to spiritual fitness and really fitness with all these things, you're gonna have some back falls, some slide downs, back downs, slide, fall, landslides down. Look, you're gonna have some times where you go backwards. Okay, I can't even think of a word right now. You're gonna have times where you're gonna go backwards, right? You're gonna have times where you have questions, especially when it comes to spirituality. But with him, oh look, sniffle, just like I just talked about. But with people, who are having those kind of conflicts, that's not healthy because it can ruin, your relationships. It can ruin so much else. The rest of these total fitness pieces, right? Then it comes to another thing is like an obsession with death. I think that's a part of your spiritual fitness and being unhealthy, right? There was a point I have a blog on the website. There was a point where I was in love with death, right? And I was obsessed with it because all the time, yes, I was being very mindful of what life means, right? That is good spiritual fitness. Being mindful and thinking about life and what it means and what you could do and the purpose and what we owe to each other and what the world owes to you and what you owe to the world, right? That is healthy spiritual fitness. But what is not is when you get to a point where you believe the only things that life owes you is death. And I mean, honestly, it is. That's you once you were born, the only thing that you are tasked to do really is die. The- we can talk about it. Yeah, the purpose of human beings are to reproduce, but you're tasked with dying. That's the only thing that you are owed from this world. And so I think when we start to obsess about that, I think that is a bad, I think that's a negative health, or I think that's unhealthy with spiritual fitness, right? And so I think you got a good understanding of spiritual fitness. All right. So from there, you get to financial fitness and some of the issues associated with it, like bankruptcy, living paycheck to paycheck, unnecessarily spending, never-ending paychecks or payments. Oh, first off, never-ending paychecks would be amazing. Never-ending payments. That I cannot stand. Right? At all. I hate monthly payments. I hate payments. Letting things go into collections, having all these different debt to income ratios. Obviously, financial fitness is pretty easy to explain and understand. Some issues associated with being unhealthy. When it comes to your romantic health, constant breakups, constant get back togethers, falling in love with love, or having a love addiction, always needing to be loved. Those are definitely some really hard romantic health issues to kind of get past and get over, because a lot of times that's what we want. We just want to be loved and we want to love others. Um, but when our desire is stronger than like our own self worth, that's when it becomes hard. Codependency, huge thing. And I think I also need to have a codependency podcast and really break it down, because codependency is a huge issue in relationships. And a lot of people just don't understand it. Me, for instance, it was like my last 3 relationships, I have been a very codependent person on both sides of the spectrum of codependency. And the first 2 times, I didn't know what I was doing, and even the other person were codependent as well. At times on the opposite side, whatever. But whenever I started learning about what codependency actually is, uh, I try my hardest to not be codependent. And in trying my hardest to not be codependent, I try my hardest to not be codependent for the other person. not for myself, which only made me codependent in the opposite way because I was so worried about that person. That's not healthy. Codependency is not healthy whatsoever. Always consistently needing validation in whatever way is unhealthy. Um, Infidelity, that is unhealthy. If you're in a polygamous relationship, more power to you and your partner/partners. Um, but that's not what infidelity is, right? Infidelity is doing things against your relationship. It might not even be on purpose. No, that's not the word. It might not be intentionally hurting, but just not being faithful, whether it's sexually cheating, romantically cheating, whatever case may be. You might have built up savings with your partner for over 10 years for to buy a house or something like that, or give to your kids for college, whatever the case may be. Infidelity would be taking that money out, going and gambling it, hoping that you went big or something. I don't really know, right? um but that's considered infidelity as well. Walking out on your romantic relationships in those manners is unhealthy. So attachment and detachment, I have some of the worst attachment and detachment issues, right? Like, I tell people all the time, I have some attachment issues, meaning I have walls up, and it's going to be a little difficult for you to get in and for me to actually attach myself to you and allow you to attach yourself to me, and even to allow myself to allow you to allow me to attach to you, right? I tell people all the time, I have attachment issues because it's just, I have so many insecurities for myself. That's not healthy, right? To live your life in that way. But immediately after I tell people that about my attachment issues, the very next thing I say is, but my detachment issues are much worse. Much worse. Once you're in, you're in. There's nothing else. You're not leaving. Like, no. Why? And I don't want to say like I never leave people, because I have, but it is extremely difficult for me to do it. And so much where it is uh where I start to self-sabotage, and I start to reflect, and I start to not forgive myself, and I start to hate myself. And that's why it's unhealthy. You can have these barriers up to keep people in. You have these barriers up to keep people out, but it's the reaction, it's what you're doing later that makes it unhealthy. Because obviously everybody has a right, because a lot of people have been hurt, and regardless who is anybody to tell anybody that they should take their walls down because they're not that person who hurt you. You're right. That person who hurt me wasn't the person who hurt me before they hurt me, but eventually they hurt me. So, I will never tell somebody to bring your walls down because I'm not that person. Okay. So I don't think it's necessarily unhealthy to have those walls up, but it's like I said, what you do afterwards or on the background or, later on, that is the unhealthy results of having your walls up. You know what I'm saying? Next, we get into social health and some issues associated with that. Again, that's what we kind of circle back around to anxiety. You have that social anxiety, loneliness, not being able to adapt to your situations, to the people around you. That can become an issue because adapting is just something you have to do. Like, not necessarily blend in, but if you're in an area where it's very professional and it's a professional like dinner, where people are having a drink or two, and they're laughing ha 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 with their pinkies up and whatnot. Like, I don't know why I made professional. Look, whatever. Right? You're in this professional setting. And if you can't adapt to that setting and calm down your drinking because you might have a drinking problem, that's not being able to adapt. That's not healthy socially, right? And also when it comes to the alcohol addiction, that's also not healthy. but that's part of addictions, and we'll get into that next. But then also nurturing relationships, right? Not just your romantic relationships, but nurturing your platonic relationships with your friends and your family and the people around you, people you care about. Nurturing those relationships is is a huge part. Like not being able to nurture them well is a huge part of it. Oh, there's a dog out there. I know me. He's trying to talk to me. But nurturing those relationships and your lack of balance too, of being able to nurture those relationships and nurture it, like balance taking care of you and taking care of, the people you care about. Then you also get to like in the inability to be assertive, the inability to make and set boundaries, right? A lot of times we build a lot of resentment because we aren't assertive with people. Not aggressive, but assertive. We aren't necessarily able to make those boundaries and tell people what we need. And because of that, that's not healthy because it does build that resentment against people you care about, against yourself, against whomever. So that's a lot about with that social, social issues, right? Then we get into personal, like I talked about with the addiction, like the alcohol addiction, different addictions is when you get to a lack of personal health. So being able to take care of your physical activity and your nutrition, huge part of personal health. Not necessarily talking about going to the gym, like talked about earlier. That's actually physical health, like going to the gym, maintaining that, your actual bones and how that stuff. No, physical activity like just standing up, not sitting down all day, those kinds of things. Not isolating, just sitting in the house or doing something, doing nothing. Those kind of things. Your actual physical activity, your nutrition, your eating. If you're not eating, obviously having an eating disorder is a huge part of your personal health. Your hygiene, not showering, you're not brushing your teeth, not you're not getting immunizations as you need to. I will be honest with you. It is depending on the reasons for why you're not getting vaccinated and getting shots and all that kind of stuff, depending on the reason, can be very unhealthy in the mind and can be personally unhealthy because if it is something that you need to take care of so that way you don't get sick and to keep you safe from other people, then immunizations are necessary, right, for your personal health. But obviously people have other health reasons or other financial reasons or other spiritual reasons and things like that for why they don't get immunizations. So I want to keep it clear there are reasons that it would be in your best interest not to, but there are definitely groups of people who just don't want to get, and I'm not talking about the COVID vaccine, I'm just talking about immunizations, right? There's like anti-vax people, there were anti-vax people and organizations and clubs and whatnot before COVID, right? So that's what I'm talking about. And then you can add COVID in. But what I'm talking about is the people who won't get their children vaccinated. I'm not saying I'm for, I'm not saying I'm against. But what I'm saying is it is unhealthy. It is unhealthy for your personal health, your personal fitness, right? In certain situations. Um, then, like I said, you get into tobacco addictions, alcohol addictions, substance abuse. Then you also have more things that are kind of programmed as well, like genetic brain issues, genetic brain disorders, those kinds of things kind of get you into that personal. Last but not least, we have sexual, which is my favorite. No, 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 charming. Your sexual health is my favorite to talk about because currently, with me going to Sex Addicts Anonymous and whatnot, that's kind of my biggest piece of what I'm trying to work on right now. That's why I mean by my favorite. But also, I felt at that probably more than anything else. So, but your sexual health obviously has to include your STDs, your STIs, your different addictions like porn and sex. Um, One thing I do want to talk about is your sexual health and how it's determined by your emotions, because That's not healthy. To have sex or to react sexually from emotions is not healthy, right? So just because you're happy doesn't mean you need to have sex. Just because you're feeling like someone loves you doesn't mean you need to have sex or masturbate. Or just because you're feeling lonely doesn't need to mean you need to masturbate. I'm saying all this, but look, I'm trying to practice it. I'm getting better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying. We all working on some piece, and this is having to be the piece I'm having the most difficulty at right now. But those are what's not healthy. And then you get into more, those viruses and updates and programming or whatnot, like different sexual dysfunctions, erectile dysfunction, cancer. You get into like your testicular cancer, vaginal cancers, those kind of things. Um, Taking pills and other drugs and inhalants in order to have sex is not healthy. Obviously, is unhealthy in a few different ways because that you become reliant upon those to have sex. And then there's also the other unhealthy part is that you do have some sexual dysfunction, which is also unhealthy. Then you get into like needing alcohol in order to have sex. Again, then you starting to build a dependence on alcohol for sex, not healthy. And then just not being able to wait for sex, like in a romantic situation, or even if it's just a hookup. I'm not knocking hookups whatsoever. I am no person to do that at all. But it is not healthy, especially if your goal is to wait and to like maybe hang out once or twice, or maybe push it off like 30 minutes or something like that. Not healthy if you can't do that and it is your goal to do that. So just to kind of end it up really quickly, I want to talk about like how they all mesh, right? So I talked about this pie, this circle. There is a huge, just think about a huge circle on the wall, and just imagine you just drawing out 9 slices, right? And naming each one of those, all these different pieces that we just talked about and went over, right? Now, you may have drawn in your head a circle and with even parts, right? And no, because I can tell you, none of us, no person in the world is equal and balanced on that pie. I don't even want to say that all the pieces fit in that pie. I would I like when I say fit, I don't mean like like each percentage makes up 100%, right? So obviously that's a pie. It's 100%. It's a circle. It's 100%, right? So each piece is going to be either cut at the same size equally, or each piece is going to be cut at different sizes, right? But regardless, all of those percentages equal 100%. When it comes to your total fitness and your balance of it all, it doesn't even have to. Well, what is optimal, it would be to get it to 100%. But no, no. A lot of times, our pie, our circle, and I'll probably put it in a blog, a really quick blog, like just a visual for you guys. But our circle looks like this: physical fitness, 2%; mental fitness, 0.5%; emotional, 0.5%; spiritual, 12%; financial, 10%; romantic, 12%; social, 5%; personal, 13%; and your sexual fitness, 5%. I don't think none of that equaled up to 100, but you see what I'm saying? Like literally, you can have this pie and all these different pieces, but it's not optimally, kempt at a total 100. A lot of times, a lot of people will tell you, oh, you need to have a good balance, like as as your financial fitness increases, it decreases the space for your romantic situation, right? Like they say, you can only pick 3 of the 6 to be really good at. So, what are you going to be really good at? Financial fitness, social fitness, and physical fitness. So, that means that your emotional, your spiritual, your personal is going to slack. That part is true to some degree, but that does not mean that you're at 100%. You know what I'm saying? So, I really, really want to drive hard that a lot of times we're not balanced or even equaling up to 100 or even near that. We might be at 50% total fitness. And within that 50%, yeah, they're all different sizes of the pie, but half the pie is gone. Somebody else ate that, or you gave it to somebody else, or the anxiety ate it up, or whatever, right? And so not only do we have to work on building up our pieces to equal 100%, but we also have to work on getting those to be as equally balanced as possible once it is at 100%. What should you do first? That depends on you. What I am doing, what I'm trying to do is just get each of those to as close to well balanced as possible, even in my 12%, because I feel like all my little pieces equal a total of 12%. And that's really far from 100%. But what I can do is focus on what I do have, the little bit that I do have, and kind of try and even them out within what I have. So once I have that even um, foundation, then I could build from my 12% to my 30%, my 30 to my 45, my 45 to my 80 to my 100%. And then on the way, obviously, I'll get better and worse at some things. And so, I just have to continue gauging. But that's what I am doing. I mean, it'd be completely different for anybody else to work on, their balance and their pie and their circle, their 100% or like thereof. So last but not least, how how I'm trying to take steps in the right direction. Like how am I trying to at least balance out like that 12% of those, those pieces of that pie. So first things first, it's difficult, right? Is yeah, okay, it's difficult the process of trying to balance them out. Yeah, that part. But what's really difficult is facing the truth and realizing that that I'm not physically fit or not physically totally fit. That I'm not totally fit. That's what's difficult. Like looking at all of these, looking at all of these things, this entire list, right? Looking at this entire list and all these different examples and telling myself like I suck at that. I- I'm doing a horrible job at that. Oh man. It's like so every week for the last week I have gone to a physical no, a financial therapist. Okay? And I think it's important. She's not necessarily an accountant. She's not my accountant, but she's my physical no I, words. She's my financial therapist, right? So I go to her and we talk about my spending and my goals and my habits and how it relates to my mental health and my personal health and my sexual health, all these different things. And in doing that, she sees every purchase I make, you know, everything. And I make some pretty bad purchases or some pretty, yeah, bad purchases. You know what I'm saying? Sexually. And not just, that, but she sees all of that. The humility it takes to allow someone else to literally look at everything you are doing and analyze it, not judge. She doesn't judge me in those ways, right? Obviously, she works to help, me reach my financial goals and whatnot. But to have someone look at every purchase, included with every thought behind each purchase, is a lot. That's hard. But what's harder than that is you doing it for yourself. Like it is so difficult to look at my breakdown of spending from the last few months and see how much money I've spent like down to the penny on everything I spend money on. And then you just think, what am I doing? I am horrible at this. You know what I'm saying? And so, and because it's numbers, I can physically see numbers. Let's not even talk about when I go to SAA, like Sex Addicts Anonymous. That's a different type of therapy, right? That's that sexual health, right? And now I have to face the truth that I'm a sex addict. At the beginning of every meeting, like it's just like you see with the AA, like movies and stuff like that. Hi, my name is Charming, and I'm a sex addict from St. Louis, Missouri. Every meeting, you have to face that. That's what's hard. That's what's difficult for me. And then to realize it, and then to think about it, and then to get triggered by it, and then to try not to act on those triggers is even harder. Going to, therapy with my psychologist, right? For my mental and my emotional health, right? That's difficult because just going there is a trigger because you go there and you talk about what triggered you and what made your week rough or good, and talk about and you analyze and think about every little thing from the week. Then you get to physical therapy. Physical therapy. I go to physical therapy for my back. And that's hard. Just seeing or thinking about how my body used to be good and useful and could move. And now I can barely do like a squat without my back hurting. I can barely vacuum my house without my back hurting and me needing to sit down. I can barely drive for 3 hours in a car without my back just hurting horribly. And that itself is hard, thinking about that and analyzing that. You know what I'm saying? So like all these different types of therapies is hard. Even when I was married, I went to marriage counseling, right? That's romantic therapy right there. That was rough because you got to face the truth and face yourself and tell somebody not only all the issues you're having, but also face that with the person you care about and you love. And then on top of all two of those, face that within yourself, to yourself, and being honest and truthful with all these different things and all these different therapies and all these different ways. That is hard. And that's what's keeping so many people from getting better. Honestly, Beyonce said it best. She said, the reason people don't want to practice and rehearse is because they don't like to look like they're not good. And that's why people aren't successful, because they're afraid to fail. They're afraid to look at the truth. They're afraid to be humiliated, embarrassed. They're afraid to look at themselves and not see what they hope to see eventually. And that's why. And that's why it took me so long to really get involved in Sex Addicts Anonymous. It's still taking me forever to get as involved. All I still do is say that at the beginning of the meetings, and that's all. And then I don't talk the rest of the time. There's been a few times where I've shared and, gave feedback, but that's it. And that's not great, but it's so difficult for me to find a sponsor. It's so difficult for me to, talk. It was difficult for me at group therapy, just to talk and put my emotions out there and whatnot. Even doing the podcast is difficult, but I'm doing it for something more than me. Yeah, I put everything about myself out on the internet. Anybody at any point in time can see it. I'm planning on starting college soon. If they want, they could just look up my name, and the first thing you look at my name is going to be my Facebook. The second thing is going to be the mental lab. The mental lab is probably going to be the first thing at this point. Let me see. One of my handy dandy Google. Okay, so things that pop up first is my Instagram with 1,111 posts. Then my Twitter. I have a Twitter. Oh, yeah, for my first podcast. Okay. Then, oh, look at that. Officialmentallab.com, creator community. Then my services. Oh, then Lindenwood, my first college. Then the podcast, then my dad. Oh no, that's me. Yeah. So name and find anything, and they could see I have all these different things going on with me and just not want me. Jobs, work. But you know what? That's not the point. I'm not going to, the gift that I have is to reach out to people and at least give them insight to what they're dealing with because I was blind, and now that I'm able to kind of see and have that awareness, I need to share it. And apparently I have, I mean, I, not that the podcast is like booming or anything like that, or the community is like huge, but eventually it will be. And even if not, eventually somebody's going to see this or listen to this 5 years down the road, and it might save their life. It might allow them to help somebody else out. You never know. I never know. You know what I'm saying? So it can be difficult. It can be very hard, especially with addictions, because a lot of these things will be easier to kind of manage and get to 100% and optimal balance if you didn't have addictions. But addictions hold you back. You're powerless to them. You can't, like, they're an addiction. Unless you get over the addiction and you create new habits, better habits over those addictions, it's going to be extremely hard. Like my sex addiction, like I want to be a person who can have healthy sex. But because my sex is so emotionally charged, that's difficult. And every time I feel like I want to take a step forward and I take a few steps back. That keeps me held back. Your perceived outcome. I try not to think about the how, the when, or the what happens if. I try my hardest. I have it written on my mirror, but it's so hard because the perceived outcome of what your each action is difficult. It's like, okay, well, if I go to the mall, am I going to spend too much money? No, I think I got it today. But what happens if I do? What's going to happen? Will my financial therapist be upset at me? Will she tell me she can't see me anymore? You know, what happens if I go and talk to my partner about this issue? Is he going to backlash? Is she going to leave me? Is she going to cheat on me? Is he going to take the kids? Like the perceived outcome oftentimes keeps you holding back, held back from improving and working on your total fitness. Um, a big question I have to ask myself all the time is like, what do I have to lose? And most of the time it's nothing. But really, the more important question I should be asking myself is, what do I have to gain from creating this new habit or from working on this? And you know what I'm saying? So like about a month and a half ago, before I started working on my financial fitness, the question I had was, I ain't got no money anyway. What do I got to lose? Nothing, obviously, because that's why I'm asking that question. But I'm really bad. Excuse me, I'm really bad at just saying. I really suck at my physical at my financial fitness. I should really go talk to somebody. What do I have to gain? I might be able to get things or build a vision or start a savings or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the question I should be asking myself more often. And to be honest with you, I don't ask it enough. So now that I say that now, I'll try to be more aware and conscious of it. But like I talked about earlier, another question I oftentimes ask myself is, will this benefit somebody else in the same or similar position? Because not all the time is everyone's gift to help other people. It is a passion of mine to help others. That's why I want to be a physical therapist. Um, it is a passion of mine. So for me, will my story, will me being humiliated? Will me putting my stuff out there help benefit somebody else? Will me taking care of my romantic fitness help my romantic partner? Will it be better for my kids if I'm better romantically, fit and healthy? Is do I want them to see me being codependent so that way they can grow up and be the same exact way? You know, will it benefit somebody else for me to start improving on my total fitness and balancing it out? And last but not least, just some advice that I keep getting from like my fabulous app that helps me build habits, from different people like my financial therapist, my physical therapist, my psychotherapist. All those is become engulfed in who you want to be. Think about who you want to be, and every action I talked about in the last podcast. Every action is a vote to who you're going to become, or is a vote to who you want to become. And every time you vote, every time you put that vote in that ballot, is more evidence that you're becoming who you want to become. So with that, guys, I just want to give a huge thanks to everybody who's made it to the end of the episode. I know it was long. Again, you know what? I guess I can just ramble. So maybe I'll just make it the norm for these to be an hour and a half. I don't know. Maybe I'll make it the norm to be in 2 different parts. I don't know. We'll see, guys. But I just want to also give an even more special thanks to any of you guys who comment, like, subscribe, follow, whichever platform you're listening to this on. Also visit the website and all that kind of stuff. I just want to thank all of you guys. I do want you guys to remember that I'm always looking for more creators and more people to join the community. So you can contact me through the website. Also, check out our season 2 merchandise. Again, the proceeds goes back to the community, goes back to you guys, goes to different organizations, Mental Health America, all those different kinds of things. So yeah, guys, just make sure you stay tuned for more information about the social media platform that we'll be creating. And I hope you guys just have an amazing day. Until next time, bye, guys.
The song My Little Love. She's talking to her child. She's like, I'm trying my best. I hope my decisions don't mess you up in the future. Yeah. I hope you don't hate me. Uh-huh. That is a song that I would sing to my baby self. Like, I'm trying my best. Day by day, I'm making decisions, and they might not be for the best of us, but I'm trying my best. So don't hate me for the decisions I'm making right now that may affect our future, positive or negative. And I cried so hard, man. The past 2 years, I was in a relationship that it was not the best. It was very traumatizing. It was very abusive on both sides. I would take my side as well, but it was just not right